Hello everybody, and welcome back to my home here in East Tennessee on this beautiful autumn day. I have some new and unusual things to share with you all today, and at the top of the list is my new Lepanthopsis astrophora. It's a very tiny, compact little orchid. And there's a story behind this, as there usually is, and it has to do with the Orchid Supply Store, my sponsor, and the glass cloche terrarium that Ken sent me a few months ago. And let me show you all where you can order these beautiful glass cloche terrariums, and also any bark or moss, pots, anything that you need for your orchids or to grow plants. He has everything that you need. And I'll also place a link to this in my description box below. And don't forget to use my coupon code Amy for a 12% viewers discount. As you all know, I did a video a few weeks ago on a glass cloche terrarium that I placed some Tillandsias in. Well, that wasn't my initial idea for this glass cloche. I went on a rather extensive search to see if I could find an orchid that really spoke to me and that would fit in this cloche, which is 10 inches tall and 5 inches wide. I looked at a lot of plants and I happened upon information about this one, a Lepanthopsis astrophora. It's a tiny, compact little plant, and this one is blooming size. And when it blooms, it produces these little 4-millimeter blooms that look like magenta stars. And these little orchids are very hard to find. Seattle Orchids had on their website that they would be offering some, a very limited quantity in September. And I expressed interest in buying one as soon as they got them in. Well, September came and went, and I thought, well, they probably won't get them in. And as you all know, I've been growing orchids for 20 years, and I've seen a lot of orchids. But this one, I couldn't get it off of my mind. I was seriously disappointed that I didn't get one in September. And I also thought about it a lot. With stars in my eyes, I thought about it. And I could see this little orchid and it needed to be mine, and it was really kind of funny. So 10 days ago, I got the notification that they were in and I nearly jumped out of my skin. So I ordered it immediately, and then I realized I needed another glass cloche. So I let my awesome sponsor know that I really needed another one, and I needed some fir bark, I needed some other things, and I got the cloche and the bark, and he also sent me some really cool new Tillandsias. So I'm going to show you those at the end of the video. They are beautiful, and I wanted to say, Ken, thank you so much. Now let me tell you about this little orchid. I am so excited about it. Lepanthopsis astrophora come from the cloud forest in Venezuela. There isn't a lot out there in terms of care for them, but I've read everything that I can get my hands on, mostly in blogs. There's no videos that I can find about them at all. I know it does like high humidity, and that's why I need a terrarium for it. It's a warm grower. That's perfect for inside my home in the winter, and it will grow well in the sunroom for the rest of the year when the humidity is high. And as far as light preference is concerned, I've seen everything. I've read everything from shade to light shade to bright indirect light. So I'm growing it under its own LED halo light. And I've got the LED light about 12 inches above the orchid for about 9 hours a day. I'm thinking about increasing it to 12 hours. I'm going to see how it does. In the past 10 days, this has grown, obviously, to the point that my husband and daughter can tell. I'm continuing to read about it, but I have learned from experience that orchids don't normally grow well indoors in low light. They don't like it. So that's why I'm starting it out with 9 hours of the LED lights a day. Right now, this is about 2 inches tall, probably about 3 inches wide, and I've got it in this little plastic net pot, and I have a layer of New Zealand sphagnum moss in between very small orchiata bark that the orchid supply store sent me. The rule is about these things is not to let it dry out. I don't want to keep it damp and wet, but I want to keep it moist. So I keep thinking about what a cloud forest would be like. Warm and humid, but not soggy, and bright, very dispersed light. So these plants do well in terrariums for that reason. And I'm going to do this terrarium differently than I did the Tillandsia terrarium. I have lined it with some large orchiata bark on the bottom, and then I'm going to place some New Zealand sphagnum moss on top of that. And I'm actually going to keep the moss damp to increase the humidity inside the terrarium. And it needs to be stable, and I don't want the orchid to tip over. So I'm going to pour some very small orchiata bark on top of that, and I'm also going to use some stones to keep it in place. So I've already got the bark on the bottom of this, and then I'm going to place my New Zealand sphagnum moss, which is damp. And I want to keep it damp, but not soggy. That is going to be like a moisture barrier for me. Okay, and then I'm going to take the very small orchiata bark. This is so cute. Okay. And I want to cover that moss entirely. I don't want any light getting to that New Zealand sphagnum moss because this is going to be under a grow light, and I don't want any type of algae to set up in this enclosed terrarium. So look at this little guy. Oh gosh, is he not the cutest thing? Yeah, I've been really excited about this. Can you all tell? I've been so looking forward to sharing this with you all. Okay, and I place these little stones around the bottom of this pot, and look how adorable that is. So I know a lot of you are going to be thinking, how in the world do you water this? It took me a minute to figure that out myself. I use a pipette, and about one of these is pretty much enough. I just kind of water it around the top of it, and then that reaches the moss. It keeps it moist for 2 or 3 days. And I've put a lot of time and thought about how to keep it damp but not wet, because, you know, orchid roots just don't like being wet. They like being damp. And a cloud forest, it would kind of go along with moist but not wet. And the roots are very much, do you see these these are spikes right here where this has bloomed before, but the roots look stringy and very delicate like this. So if you put that in a wet situation, the moss is just going to choke the roots. So so far this has done really well. I've had this for 10 days and it has visibly grown since I've had it. So obviously it likes what I'm doing, and I will keep you all posted because this one is very, very unique. It is a rarity, and I'm just so happy that I have it. So this orchid was actually due to research on terrariums. Ken sends me a terrarium. I need an orchid for the terrarium, and I find one that puts stars in my eyes. I think this is just a beautiful little plant. The first time you grow any type of a plant, especially an orchid, there's a lot of research to do. And this has been a lot of fun for me, and I'll be giving you all updates on how it's doing. I'm really excited that I actually found and purchased this orchid. And it's not just me. My husband and my daughter's reaction to this little guy was just kind of awestruck. It is the cutest thing. So here we go, a new orchid and a new adventure. And that's really what makes growing orchids so much fun. And I've got to show you all the finished product with the cloche enclosed over it. So what I'm going to do is every time I water this, which is for right now every 2 or 3 days, I'm also going to water the moss below so that it keeps the humidity high at 60% or above, because from what I've read, this orchid needs that high humidity for it to bloom. So I want to see it bloom as soon as possible. And I have to show you the Tillandsias that my sponsor sent me. This one is Tillandsia streptophila, and it looks like an octopus to me. I love it. And the other one is a Tillandsia celeriana. I love this one. My daughter thinks that that one looks like a squid. That's exactly what it looks like. And these are also available on the Orchid Supply Store website, and they are awesome plants. I'd like to thank Ken at the Orchid Supply Store for sending me these awesome things that make me think outside the box. If he hadn't sent me this glass cloche, I would have never gone on a search for this tiny little orchid, and this one really speaks to me. And also, thanks to all of you, my orchid family. I appreciate you all more than you know. We all just speak the language of orchids here on my channel, and that makes me smile. If you have a Lepanthopsis astrophora and you'd like to pass on information on how you grow yours, please leave me a comment. I would greatly appreciate it. And before I end the video, I'd love to say the blessing over you, your families, and your plants. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn His face toward you and give you His peace. You all make it a great day, and we will talk to you next time.